Dear students, we are going to solve one more problem on the chapter income from salary. This is video number 21. Let us go through the problem. Ramanan furnishes the following particulars. So basic is taxable while computing taxable salary. So let us see what are the items to be taken while computing taxable salary. So 14,000 into 12, you will get basic taxable salary. Then DA 4,000 into 12, so annual DA you have to take. And what is given within bracket? 30% enters Provident Fund. So this is only for Provident Fund contribution as well as for computation of perquisite value of rent-free accommodation. Similarly, dearness pay 2,000 per month. So 2,000 into 12, that is part of taxable salary. For Provident Fund contribution purpose, only 30% of 2,000 should be taken. Similarly, for computing value of perquisite value of rent-free accommodation. Conveyance allowance 600 per month, 60% spent for official purpose. So what is spent for official purpose, that is exempt. Remaining amount, that is 40%, should be taken as taxable conveyance allowance. If 100% is spent, nothing is taxable. Deputation allowance, that is fully taxable. Servant allowance, yes, that's also fully taxable. So per month is given, you have to multiply that with 12. Education allowance 200 per month for one child. Per child 200 per month is granted, but what is exempt is 100 per child for 12 months. Maximum deduction available is for 2 children. So 100 per child for 12 months. For 2 children, deduction is available. So here only one child is there, so therefore no problem. 200 into 12 into 1. He is provided with a rent-free house, the fair rental value of which is 36,000 per annum. So what it means is, it is owned by the assessee, because only when when fair rental value is given, it is assumed that it is owned by the assessee. Otherwise, fair rental value will not be given. Then, when accommodation is owned by the assessee, the valuation procedure is you have to consider the population. And the procedure is, if the population exceeds 25 lakhs, then 15% of salary of employee is taken as perquisite value. Supposing it is more than 10 lakh but not more than 25 lakh, then 10% of salary of the employee will be taken as perquisite value. If it is 10 lakh or less than that, then 7.5% of employee's salary will be taken as perquisite value. So here it is given somewhere at the end, it is given population is more than 32 lakh, and therefore 15% of salary has to be taken as perquisite value of the accommodation. But what is salary? Salary means basic, then all allowances, taxable allowances, and even DA and DP, which is part of retirement benefits. In other words, that part of DA and DP which enters into retirement benefits or Provident Fund calculation, that has to be included in the salary for the purpose of calculation of rent-free accommodation. Further, again, the explanation will be given. Then his child, before that, cost of furniture supplied is 50,000, which includes a laptop costing rupees 20,000. If the furniture is owned, then 10% of cost of furniture should be taken as perquisite value of furniture. But of course, from the cost you have to exclude cost of a laptop as well as computer. And if it is higher, the actual higher cost will be taken as perquisite value. Here only cost is given, that means it is owned. In that case, 50,000 minus 28,000, so 22,000 remains. Of that, 10% is taken as perquisite value. His child was treated in private hospital. The bill came rupees 25,000 and the company reimbursed 20,000. So earlier, if the treatment is in a private hospital, exemption will be up to 15,000 of the amount reimbursed by the employer. But here now, in the recent amendment, no exemption regarding reimbursement. Entire 20,000 is taxable. Entire 20,000 is taxable. Then it also paid his health insurance premium. It is totally exempt. Health insurance premium paid by the employer on behalf of the employee is exempt. He contributed 12.5% of salary to recognized provident fund, to which the company contributes equally. Employer's contribution to recognized provident fund above 12% of salary of employee is taxable. Up to 12% it is exempt. More than that it is exempt. Taxable. So what is salary here? Salary means only basic. Then that part of DA which enters into Provident Fund contribution, and also DP, dearness pay, which is part of Provident Fund contribution. So only three items will be taken, that too not entire DA, not entire DP, only that part of DA and DP which enters Provident Fund calculation. So only 0.5% is taxable, 0.5% of salary of employees taxable. Similarly, interest credited during the year amounted to rupees 12,750 at 10% per annum. So interest credited to recognized Provident Fund up to 9.5% is exempt. Here it is 10%. So 0.5% is taxable. 10% minus 9.5. So 0.5% is taxable. How to calculate this value? See, 10 is equal to 12.750. What is 0.5? That we have to calculate. So 12,750 divided by 10 into 0.5. So that is the way you have to calculate. Then he took a vehicle loan of rupees 2 lakh at 7% and paid rupees 12,000, and interest SBI rate is 10%. Look here you can calculate the concession. Here is you have to compare the rate of vehicle loan with the SBI rate. SBI rate is 10%, whereas the loan granted by the employer is at 7%. So 10% minus 7%, so concession is 3%. So how to calculate the amount of concession? You cannot calculate on 2 lakh at 3%, because when the loan was granted you do not know. So this 7% is per annum. Therefore, you can consider the interest amount. Interest is 12,000. It is at what rate? It is at 7%. So 7 is equal to 12,000. What is 3? In other words, 12,000 into 3 divided by 7. That way you have to calculate. Calculation separately I have given in the solution. Company gave him gift coupons and he purchased articles worth rupees 15,000 out of coupons. See, any gift above 5,000, that is taxable. Any gift, especially in a mode other than cash, that is taxable if aggregate amount exceeds 15,000. So, 5,000. So here it is 15,000 more than 5,000. Entire amount is taxable here. Okay. The company paid the club bills of rupees 5,000. So if it is extended to all the employees, okay, here it is extended to only one employee, therefore it is fully taxable. This professional tax. So professional tax normally is paid by the employee, but here it is paid by the employer, therefore that is taken as perquisite. And again that is deductible under section 16 subsection 3. He was given lunch coupons worth rupees 80 each for 300 days. So lunch provided to employee of the value of 50 rupees for each lunch, that is exempt. Up to 50 rupees it is exempt, but here it is 80 rupees. Therefore the difference is taxable. So 80 minus 50, that means 30 per lunch, it is taxable. and that's for 300 days. So 30 into 300, so 9,000 is taxable. Supposing the value of the lunch is 45 rupees, nothing is taxable. If it is 50 rupees, nothing is taxable. If it is more than that, the difference is taxable. Okay. During the year, he paid rupees 24,000 as LIC premium. This is for ATC calculation of reduction in the ATC. And repaid housing loan 30,000. Only principal component of this installment, that is deductible under ATC. And then interest is to be taken while computing income from house property. Then deposited rupees 20,000 in PPF. So this is also coming under ATC. So 24,000, then 30,000 minus 14,000, so 16,000, then 20,000. Then employees' contribution to recognized Provident Fund. So these are the values or items you have to consider in order to calculate ATC. So by this I have solved the problem. So here gift in kind up to 5,000 is exempt. If it is in cash, it is fully taxable. Okay, I am subject to correction. If it is in cash, it is fully taxable. But if it is in kind, it is exempt up to rupees 5,000. But here it is more than 5,000. Therefore, entire amount is taxable. It's not above 5,000. If it exceeds 5,000, entire amount is taxable. Now let's see the solution. I have already explained. Basic 14,000 into 12, DA 4,000 into 12, DRNS pay 2,000 into 12, conveyance allowance 600 into 12 into 60% is spent for official purpose, 40% for private purpose. Therefore, it is taxable. Deputation allowance fully taxable. Servant allowance is also fully taxable. Education allowance, yes. It is 2,400, but it is exempt at the rate of 100 per child for 12 months, but up to a maximum of 2 children. But here only 1 child, therefore it is restricted to 1,200. So the difference is 1,200 taxable. Contribution of the employer to the recognized Provident Fund is 12.5%, but that comes to 23,700. But it is exempt up to 12% of salary. So first, what is salary? Salary is basic plus 30% of DA and 30% of DA. 30% of DA and 30% of DP enters into Provident Fund contribution. Therefore, not the entire DA or not the entire DP we are considering, only that part of DA and DP which is considered for Provident Fund contribution. That comes to 1,89,600 at the rate of 12.5%, 23,700. It is exempt up to 12%. Employers' contribution to recognized Provident Fund up to 12% is exempt, and therefore that comes to 22,000. Yes, 752, and yes, therefore the taxable amount is 948. In other words, only half percent of 1,89,600, that is exempt. Remaining amount, half percent, is taxable. How half percent? 12.5 minus 12, half percent. So I have calculated like this. Even if you directly calculate half percent of 1,89,600, you have to get this value 948. Alright, next one, interest on recognized Provident Fund credited. Actually 12,750 is credited, but at the rate of 10%. But it is exempt up to 9.5%. So half percent again is taxable. How to calculate? 10 is equal to 12,750. What is half? 0.5. In other words, 12,750 into 0.5 divided by 10. So you get 638. Next, we'll look into the Perquisites. Perquisite value of accommodation. So I told you basic, that part of DA and DP which enters into retirement benefits, and all taxable allowances you have to take. That comes to 2,03,280. Separately working note has been given. So accommodation is owned, therefore 15% of the salary of the employee 2,03,280, that comes to 30,492. Similarly, to that you have to add a perquisite value of furniture. Here the furniture is also owned, therefore 10% of cost of furniture you have to take. But here from cost you have to exclude value of laptop. Value of laptop and computers should be excluded, therefore here it is 28,000. So the difference is 22,000, of that 10% is 2,200. Perquisite value of accommodation including furniture is 32,692. Medical expenses, whatever amount is reimbursed, that is taxable. Earlier it was exempt up to 15,000. In that case 5,000 would have been taxable, but here entire amount is taxable. Vehicle loan concession is at the rate of 3%, 10 minus 7. 7 is equal to 12,000. What is 3? So that we have calculated 5,153. Gift coupons value is more than 5,000, so entire amount is taxable. Health insurance provided by the employer is exempt. Club bills, yes, it is exempt unless club bills are directly relating to the business of the employer. Free lunch, yes, lunch value up to 50 rupees exempt. Over and above that, it is taxable. 300 days. That comes to 9,000. Professional tax paid by the employer. If the employee pays, it is not included in the taxable salary. Only that will come under deductions. But here, since the employer has paid on behalf of the employee, it is the perquisite, 2,000. And again, it is taken as deduction under section 16 subsection 3. Okay, gross salary is 3,44,101. Now, what are the deductions under gross salary? So there are three deductions. One is okay, it is standard deduction. I forgot to mention that it is standard deduction. Till last year it was 40,000. Now for the assessment year 2021, it is 50,000. Entertainment allowance. The entertainment allowance, if granted, that should be included in taxable salary. But deduction is available only to the government employee. And what is the deduction? It is up to 5,000 for actual entertainment allowance for 1/5 of basic salary. Of the three, whichever is least, that is deductible. But here, it is not at all applicable. Neither the allowance is allowed to the employee, nor deduction is applicable. Then professional tax is already I have mentioned 2,000. So together 52,000 is the deduction under section 16. Alright, so the taxable salary is 3,02,101. Now they have before going to deduction under ATC, computation of perquisite value of accommodation. I already told you here the accommodation is owned by the employer. So when accommodation is owned by the employer, then what you have to consider is population of the place or city where the employee works. And here the population is more than 25 lakh, therefore 15% of salary is taken as perquisite value. But what is salary? I already told you salary includes basic salary, DA which enters into Provident Fund contribution, DP which enters into Provident Fund contribution, then conveyance allowance, taxable part, deputation allowance fully taxable, servant allowance fully taxable, education allowance taxable part, together 2,03,280. So salary for rent-free accommodation is basic, then DA and DP which is forming part of retirement benefits or Provident Fund contribution, any bonus, commission, etc. and all the taxable allowances, but not the perquisites and even contribution to Provident Fund. Okay, so that comes to 2,03,280. Of that you are calculating 15%. Alright, next, deduction under ATC, contribution of the employee to recognized Provident Fund. Employee has contributed 12.5% of 1,89,600, so 23,700. LIC premium 24,000. Housing loan repaid, so totally 30,000 is given there. In that installment, principal amount is excluding interest. So total amount minus interest, so you will get principal amount that has to be taken. PPF contribution 20,000, together 83,700. Maximum deduction available under ATC is 1,50,000. Here it is 83,700. Supposing the total comes to 1,70,000, maximum deduction available is 1,50,000, not 1,70,000. So this point you have to take. If it is lesser than that, whatever is eligible, so or qualified, that should be taken. Here it is 83,700. It can also be interpreted like this. Total deduction under ATC or 1,50,000, whichever is less. Alright, now look at the notes given here. Servant allowance and deputation allowance are fully taxed irrespective of actual expenditure, whatever may be the amount given. Conveyance allowance is exempt to the extent of the amount spent for official purpose. If the entire amount is spent, entire amount is exempt. If any part of the amount is unspent or not spent, that is taxable. If it is spent for private purpose, then also it is taxable. Since the fair rental value is given, the house is owned by the SSE. Otherwise, fair rental value will not be given. As the accommodation is owned by the employer, the perquisite value is calculated based on population of the city or place where he works. Where he works means employee works. As the population is above 25 lakh in this problem, perquisite value is 15% of salary of employee. What is salary? I have already mentioned earlier. We have given the calculation. As the furniture is owned by the employer, perquisite value is 10% of original cost of furniture, excluding cost of laptops and computers. If written down value is given, that should be simply ignored. Written down value is not to be taken. Only cost of the furniture should be taken. Profession tax paid by the company is a perquisite under section 17 subsection 2 subclause 4. Further, it is deductible under section 16 subsection 3. I have already explained. Free lunch is exempt up to ₹50 per lunch. So here it is 80 minus 50, 30 per lunch is taxable for 300 days. Interest on vehicle loan is 12,000 at 7% per annum, whereas the SBI rate is 10%. Therefore, the concession in interest rate is 3%. That is 10% minus 7%. Therefore, the value of concession is calculated as below. Perquisite value of concession in interest is 12,000 into 3 by 7. 7 is equal to 12,000. 3 is equal to what? That way. 12,000 into 3 divided by 7. So that comes to 5,143. So thank you very much.